Hello, both sides of the conversation family. We welcome you to this virtual space crafted especially for you. My name is Jada Curry, and I'm both sides of the conversation's marketing director and graphics design specialist. I want to take some time to ground us all as a community into this space we are about to open up in, so let's go through our community standards. Both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation, so we ask that you all be respectful of that. We also ask that you be respectful of each panelist, host, and participant. We do encourage healthy debates and conversations. Don't personalize anything with anyone. This includes name-calling, bullying, trolling, or shaming. This will not be allowed or tolerated. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. You do not have to agree, but show respect. These community standards apply to all of our live shows and any virtual spaces that we hold on social media, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We want to make sure that we are caring for each other as a community. This is our priority in all of our endeavors as both sides of the conversation. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's show and continue to stay in touch with us via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or all of them. All right, thank you for listening and see you soon.
Welcome, everybody, to both sides of the conversation. I'm John Henry, Executive Director. Today is Thursday, so you know what that means. It's Educational Thursday, where we intentionally give the community the sauce, the information that they need. Tonight, we have two phenomenal guests coming back. They've been here before teaching financial literacy. They came back. They stood up to their word. They said they was going to come back and teach about life insurance, and they're here tonight to give us that information. Before we get started, I want to say I apologize to the community because I know earlier in the week, it was announced that the Educational Thursday tonight will be on retirement. There was definitely a typo area on our end, so I take full responsibility here at both sides of the conversation, but we did correct the flyer. Tonight will be about life insurance, so for anyone that's tuning in who thought we were going to be talking about retirement tonight, I apologize, but we will get the retirement folks to come back on here and do a presentation on retirement. So with that being said, we're just going to move along here. First, I want to give a big shout out to all of our students, all of the elders in the community who graduated in the class of 21. You see I have my shirt on. I got my SF State stuff on. I'm so proud of our young people who are doing a phenomenal job, who muscled their way through this pandemic. They went over the hurdles and they persevered. And we had a lot of issues during this Zoom school with connectivity issues and different things of that nature. But our young kids are resilient and they fought through. And today and the rest of this week and next week, there are a lot of our kids who are being blessed with that diploma for putting the hard work in. So just want to give a great shout out to all of them. And our guest tonight, her son was one of the graduates of class 21. So proud to see there. We got a lot of our young people going to San Francisco State. There's going to be a lot of young Gators running around San Francisco, working together to make change. So just proud of those young people. And I'm excited. I'll be out at Kezar tomorrow for the Black graduations for all of the young African-American students who graduated. It is going to be a phenomenal event. So I'll be out there supporting the young people in the community, volunteering, setting up. So anyone's looking for me, that's where I'll be at tomorrow, supporting our young people and giving them all the praise for their great achievement and their milestones and the things that they're doing. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into our community announcements and then get into tonight's show. One, we know that it's a couple things special going on this month. One is Pride Month, so I want to give a huge shout out to the Pride community, our LGBTQ community plus. Just want to give a big salute to them. This is their month. Also, it is Men's Mental Health Month. So I also want to highlight that to all of the fellas out there. This is our month to really take a self-reflection, look in the mirror, and really do some self-work because mental health is real. We continue to push that narrative here, making sure that the community, as well as our men, go and get the treatment, the mental health services that they need because it is real, and we have to all do that. And then with that being said, the final community announcements. We will be all out in the community this week. We have a number of events going on, starting off this Saturday. You all know the first Saturday, the city eats both sides of the conversation. We go out and bless the community, feed those in need. So this Saturday, we will be out there again at 10 a.m. We'll be at 164 6th Street, preparing the meals, getting ready to go out and bless the community. For all you that want to come out and participate, help, please go to thecityeats.org, sign up as a volunteer, come out and show up and show support. The more people that come up, the faster we can bag the food and get it out to the community, and everybody can get back to their normal lives. So just want to give a big shout out to my brother Kaim over at the City East for continuing to do his part of blessing our community, making sure those in need has a meal. And we're just going to be out there to support them. And then there's another event for our young people. As we're coming out this pandemic, there's a lot more activities and recreational things that are happening. There is a skate party going on at 155 Jenny Streets this Saturday at 11 o'clock. If you can't afford skates or you don't have skates, there will be skates out there provided for the community, for our young people to come out and skate. It's going to be a fun event. It's an outdoor event. A lot of community is going to be out there rolling around, having a good time. So for all the people in the community looking for something to do this Saturday, come out and skate with the community. It'll be a fun event. And then after the skating event, we will be headed down to South San Francisco, where we will be celebrating our young people. The entire bowling alley has been crafted for the young graduates, the class of 21. So we're going to go out with all of the young people and bowl and have a good time and eat and enjoy each other. So looking forward to that. We'll be pulling all of these flyers for all these events on all of our social media handles at Both Sides of the Conversation. We've already put them out there previously, but now that we're getting closer to the events, we'll re-put them out there and make sure that community know where these events are, where we're going to be at, and how to show up. So with that being said, I'm going to bring up Mr. Shell so she can introduce our guest tonight, and we can get started with tonight's presentation about life insurance, something very important that our community needs to hear, because I'm tired of GoFundMe's, I'm tired of food drives. We need to make sure that we properly put the right insurance coverages on our loved ones, so that when their time comes, we could go ahead and have the money to pay for it, and also move that generational wealth. So with that being said, Mr. Shell, go ahead and introduce our guest of the night.
Okay, thank you. Our first guest is Cynthia Yannacone. She is an active community member. She has over 20 years of experience and service to the people of San Francisco. She is a financial wellness coach, and she's here today to talk about the importance of life insurance. Welcome back to the Both Sides of the Conversation. Our next guest is Sean Johnson.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next guest is Sean Johnson. He has volunteered with various community services and has become a well-known community leader. He was introduced to the financial service industry, in which afforded him the ability to go back into his community and speak and share with people the useful information about financial literacy and knowledge. He is now in a position of power to bridge the wealth gap in his community. Welcome back to Both Sides of the Conversation, Sean.
All right, thank you guys. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Sean and Cynthia to give you all tonight's presentation. And I'm excited, but I'll let them further introduce the community, and I'll pull up their slides and get them ready.
All right. Thank you so much, John. Definitely appreciate it. And hey, first off, gotta give a first shout out to God. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity and ability to be here to share with everyone tonight. Truly appreciate that. Thank you so much to both sides of the conversation, because without y'all stepping out there and creating this platform, creating this forum for us to go back out into our communities, to go out and share this knowledge that we need to share with each other. We need to get this knowledge in the hands of our youth. We need to get this knowledge in the hands of our middle-aged people. We need to get this knowledge in the hands of our people that are about to retire, our parents, our grandparents. People need to know this information and have knowledge, and it all starts with having that conversation. So truly appreciate y'all for getting this platform set up for us. Definitely a shout out for everybody out there celebrating Pride. Hey, represent you, be you, congratulations. And you know what? We also definitely want to make that other announcement and follow up with, hey, it's important. Men's mental health. We don't like talking. We don't like having a conversation. So, hey, please have that conversation so we can all stay healthy. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate y'all being on. And I just want to start off real quick and give a quick background. By the way, here's our contact information. If anyone that's watching tonight or watching later has any questions about what we're doing, what we talked about, please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We are more than happy to share. That's what we're about. We're about sharing knowledge and getting into the communities. So for me, when it comes down to financial knowledge, financial education, and understanding the different tools that are out there, I can give you a personal testament that understanding how life insurance works and the proper structure of the proper insurance can just be instrumental to your family. Because I saw in my family where my grandparents did well for themselves. Coming up from Louisiana to moving to San Francisco to growing up Black in San Francisco in the 50s and 60s and the struggle that was, but they still persevered. They were successful. But then look into what happened to my grandfather's sister, one of his sisters, one of his brothers, where they didn't have that knowledge and information wasn't shared. They thought they had the proper things in place, only to realize it wasn't the right stuff. It didn't perform the way they thought it was going to perform. Now, I wasn't there, so I don't know if it wasn't explained to them correctly or if somebody just wasn't completely straight with them with what they had in place. But I can tell you, Cynthia and I want to be here to make sure that we change that narrative. We change that story. And we're able to break down something that could seem complicated, could seem intimidating to people, and make sure people understand what they have, make sure people understand what they need, because everybody has different goals and a different timeline to reach those goals. So we want to make sure we get people on that path to be able to be successful. So for me, I mentioned my grandparents were successful. Hey, this is our cabin up in South Lake Tahoe. It's not a big place. I'm not showing to brag by any means, but you know what? Because my grandparents had things in place, when they passed away, this cabin was paid for, so it will forever be in my family. Now, before I knew anything about life insurance and proper planning and protection, I didn't understand it. I just knew when I asked my dad after my grandfather passed away, I said, "Dad, but Gramps is gone. What's going to happen to the cabin up in Tahoe?" He said, "Don't worry about it. Gramps had something in place so that the cabin was paid for." Well, now I know he had life insurance. And because he had that proper protection in place and he understood what he had, guess what? That's allowed and afforded my family to go out and be a family up there, even during COVID. Yes, we took our COVID test. We were smart and safe about it, but we got to go up there. We got to be a family. We got to have a good time. My lady and I got to go up there and shelter in place. We just sheltered in a different place. And that's the type of story that I want to be able to have for other people. I want other people to be able to be successful, create those family memories, that family legacy, pass on that family wealth, pass on that generational wealth that we've worked so hard for us, especially those of us in our Black and brown communities. We worked so hard from day one. How about y'all? I started working when I was 14 years old. When my time here on this earth is done, I want to make sure my family reaps the benefits of everything that I've worked so hard for. So I want to make sure I have the proper things in place, and life insurance, I promise you, is absolutely one of those. So with that, that's my quick story. I'd like to go ahead and hand it over to my dear friend Cynthia and let her speak a little bit for us tonight. Cynthia?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I too just really want to thank both sides of the conversation, and actually just also for coming out to Carnival. It was just amazing this last weekend, and I was out there giving out information on my table, financial literacy and the importance of it. So it was just an amazing experience to have you guys come out. And now we're here again, and I really appreciate you supporting us, giving this valuable information, because it's true. Most times people don't talk about a lot of things, and it happened to my family. So this is my dad and my daddy. And because up until when he passed in 2018, that's what I call him. And he's been my inspiration to help others. And unfortunately, when he passed away, he didn't have any life insurance. And I think most of that has to do with not understanding, not knowing, not having someone talking to him. And thank God, I'm so blessed. My mom is still here. But she ended up losing his pension plan, and there was no living trust in place. And so all these things happened, and she lost her 401k as well. And it just has been such an eye-opening, and it's interesting how things and the world works and life in general, because back in 2019, we opened up an office, and the week before we opened up is when I realized that the suite number was 111, and that's my dad's birthday, January 11th. And so that's why I know I'm in the right place doing what I need to do for our community, for our family. And it starts that way because of all this experience that I had, and everything is on a continuum. When you learn about financial literacy, financial education, financial wellness, it happens throughout life, and it's just made me realize a lot of things. And recently, I actually did my own living trust, and that was a process to do, and to share it with my kids, because I want to break that cycle. And because of that, I mean, my vision is to break the cycle of poverty and create generational wealth for the Black and Brown community. And I feel very supported and very lucky that I'm here today to share this. And thanks again, too, like John was mentioning, my son just graduated this week from Lowell, and I'm a real proud mama. And I went to San Francisco State University, and he's gotten accepted to San Francisco State University as well. So he's going to be a Gator. And he's allowed me to help him and to talk about retirement planning. And people don't understand that, the two factors in creating wealth is time and money. And for my son to start at 18 is going to be a blessing for him. And I just feel really excited and happy. And I know that all youth deserve that information. And I do also have a youth intern who actually just completed. And so just her having the experience is so important. So I just want to put it out there. This is just the beginning, the beginning of everything that is important for, our family. So my dad was also very, family oriented, and, family is important. And then that's what he taught me. And he worked for Kaiser for 46 years. He was very responsible. And, and I'm just really quick, the money that he has on him, we had these conversations, these difficult conversations about money and the beliefs around it too. So I think it's really important to understand your beliefs around money. He used to always say, like, money doesn't grow on trees, or I'm broke. And, those kind of things stuck to me for a while. And I'm glad to have change those limited beliefs that I had about it, because I really think that, everybody deserves and has, the wealth, or, can have wealth in different ways as well, right? Because health equals wealth as well. But, I'm just really glad that we're here to talk and share our stories. And I also have a daughter real quick who does what I do. Her name's Stephanie. And so, she is a young mom, and I'm also a grandma, Mama Cynthia. And the closest to grandma is what they can call me is Glamma. But, and, we've created some accounts for them as well for their future. And we'll talk more about that later. But it's just been really a lot of learning and growing as well in my own experience. And the ability to just share it with the community is so important, with nonprofits, with youth and friends and family. And I just appreciate this opportunity to be here. So thank you. So knowledge is freedom and ignorance is slavery. So that's a quote by Miles Davis. And I think it's really important, because knowledge is freedom, and especially too when you apply it. So, I just want you to know really quick, if you're like most people, very quickly in our time together, you're going to find that this isn't just a regular webinar. We promise that we aren't here to sell or pitch you anything. We simply want to bring some clarity to often confusing topic. So, especially with insurance. So you'll get to learn more. And one of the biggest concerns is that there's so many choices, and we want to help individuals realize the choices that they have. And so going into the types of life insurance, you'll see, like, as we continue to share about it, we are so often willing to insure our cars, our phones, our homes, And, our life is really important, but we need to figure out which life insurance is important for us. And that's what we're going to teach you. And so there's term life, and it's temporary. There's no cash value, but it's important to have just for the just in case. Yeah. And then we have the whole life. And that's a permanent type of life insurance, and it's the 2 to 4% average rate of return. This actually used to be more used as an investment vehicle, but there's things now, just like the cell phone, as I mentioned earlier, has upgraded, so has life insurance. So, so this was what people used before a lot more often. And then there's universal life, and that's permanent as well. And there's it's in more 4 to 6% average rate of return in your policy. And so this one already you start to create a tax-free death benefit in retirement. It could be used for retirement. So then there's a variable universal life. This one is permanent, but there's no cap, no floor. There still is like some instability in that, but some people have chose to use that, and that again has some tax-free cash benefits. The one that is the newest version is the Index Universal Life, and this, if you can see there, is the 8 to 12% average rate of return. And these policies can be used to accumulate cash and an investment vehicle. And so, again, there's a tax-free death benefits as well, and the cash value component that's really important. And I feel like these are the ones, I'll just share, my things that I have those, and I have the term, but actually with living benefits, and we'll talk more about that after. But, these are really important to have, especially when you have children. And I think for me, talking to the mentors that I had, I didn't think that life insurance was good for kids, or I didn't understand it. And when my mentor told me that, I was like, what if something were to happen? But if not, my kids could still have something for their future. It made sense to me, because if something would ever happen to my kids, I don't know if I'd ever go, how it would take me to go back to work or anything like that, and I just don't want to be put in that kind of position. But if not, there have the benefits of having a child's life plan as well. So there's just these benefits in life insurance that people don't realize unless you learn. And
right on. Thank you, Cynthia, and so much power in what you just said there. And I think one of the biggest things that kind of hit me. I don't have kids just yet, but I will soon. I've got one on the way. And is thinking about that, like, well, why do I need insurance on my child? And my child's not even here yet, and already thinking about, shoot, what if something did happen to him? If there's anything that I think is the worst experience I could fathom as a parent, as a future parent, it's happened to say goodbye. It's happened to bury my child. And when I think about that coming up, I am not going to be on here chatting with y'all. I am not going to be out working or trying to help anybody else. I'm going to need to do whatever I can do to process. So when it comes to having that conversation, these are some of those tough conversations that we have to have. Like, we absolutely have to have.
Thank you, Sean. Can I just share something also as well? Because I recently experienced something with a friend, and I did help her and her son. Unfortunately, when I reached out to her, she let me know that, I let her know that the policy had lapsed, and unfortunately her son's no longer with us. And it's been really, really sad. And, now she's had to create a GoFundMe for the amount of, about 500,000. And it's been it's difficult. And besides having to grieve the loss of her son, now she's trying to get money, to pay for the bills, to pay for everything else. There is some, like, she wants to do a foundation in her son's name, which is a positive thing. But it's just the whole process of, like, having to go out and get a GoFundMe and everything like that is it's sad. It just makes me really feel sad at the end of the day about it. But I know that I did my due diligence about it, because I let her know, and there was choices that they made at that point that they were going to invest in something else. And I said, okay, we'll talk in about a month or two again. And unfortunately, he passed away. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. No, and thank you for that, Cynthia. That's just one of those sad things that when we talk about wanting to have that conversation or not wanting to have that conversation. I remember meeting with somebody that worked inside a store, and when I walked out of that store, there was somebody with literally holding a manila envelope asking for money for somebody because they passed away. And as I drove by, I was like, you know what? Let me do something. And as I dropped a couple dollars in the envelope, I said, well, shoot, what happened? And they told me a story of a 5-year-old girl that had been hit by a driver that was high on something. And like, that's not the thing we think about. That wasn't I wasn't paying attention and my child ran out and was playing in the street and something. No, that was something completely beyond our control. So it's just doing what we can to put ourselves in that best position. So, hey, if something happens, well, are we prepared for it? And are we prepared for it financially so that we can process everything else? Because when we talk about mental health, a lot of the mental health issues that we have, a lot of the relationship issues that we have, they stem from money. And a lot of times we run into money issues, not because we didn't save, but because, hey, life hit us in an unexpected way when it comes to our health, when it comes to our lives. So with that, I'd like to dive into a little bit deeper into a couple of different types of insurance. And we're going to focus on a couple of them here tonight, just to bring some light on those, like we said. So the first one's going to be your term insurance. The way your term insurance works is, hey, real talk, your term insurance is like your car insurance, right? Everybody, you've got to have it, but nobody necessarily likes making that payment. But let me ask you this. Would you rather have it and not need it, or need it and not have it? So there is a time and a place for it, but people need to understand what they have, because term insurance is really inexpensive for the most part. But if people don't realize that, hey, it is temporary, you get something when you're 20 years old, 30 years old, and you go through and you tell your family forever, it's all good. I'm covered. I've got insurance. You guys are good. Don't worry about it, because you don't know what you have. So you got a policy when you were 20. It lasted 30 years. When you were 51, you had nothing else, but you forgot about it. You pass away at 70 or 80, and your family goes, shoot, well, they always told me they had something. They pull it up and find out and call the company only to find out that it's been done for 15, 20 years. That's what we don't want to have happen. So there's good applications for term coverage. And there's different types of term coverage. So the first one, you can have an increasing premium term coverage, meaning that the amount that you said you would contribute on a monthly basis, well, guess what? Every X number of years or X number of months, that amount's going to increase. That can be okay in some circumstances, but hey, we want to make sure you understand that, hey, that's how that plan is going to work. Number two, you can have a decreasing coverage plan. That will often keep your monthly contribution, your monthly premium the same, but the cost of insurance raises, so the coverage that you have will decrease over time. Most often you'll see people will have that. Well, the best time they should have that would be if it's to cover a mortgage, because obviously you're paying down the mortgage, so you need less coverage to take care of the mortgage should you not be around for your family. But ask yourself this, if we look at something like that, if we're not here anymore, do we want our families to just have the house paid off? Don't they still have other bills? They still have to maintain life. They still got to pay for the car. They still got to pay for the kids going to school and clothes and PG&E and water and internet and all that stuff, right? So we just want to understand what type of coverage we have. How's it going to work? And then next we have what's called return of premium coverage. Return of premium, if you don't pass away during the predetermined period of time, so that 10 years to 30 years, if you don't pass away in that amount of time, then guess what? You'll get your money back. Kind of a glorified savings account, just in most cases, it's you make no interest on it. It's a zero interest, but you get your money back. That could certainly be beneficial in some situations if you don't use it. And then there's another type of term policies, which it's kind of like it's the newest iPhone, it's the newest Android out there, and you actually have living benefits. So we talk about life insurance. Well, so often it's death insurance, and the only time that our families or anyone benefit from it is if we pass away. But when we look at a term with living benefits, you actually can receive money from that policy while you're alive. And I want to talk a little bit more about that one because that one's just so powerful. So if you're diagnosed with a critical illness, you can have up to 90% of that policy's value. So heart attack, stroke, cancer, ALS, major organ transplant, end-stage renal failure, blindness due to diabetic retinopathy, or paralysis of 2 or more limbs. Guess what? That's money to you. And what's cool about those plans, if you qualify for them, is you can use that money for whatever you want. It can be used to pay off those unexpected medical bills. It can pay off those bills that your medical coverage, that your medical insurance didn't cover. Or, hey, let's say you have that heart attack, they put a stent in, you're all good, you're healthy and everything. Go have some fun with the family, go on vacation. It's all good. You can do whatever you want with it. If you're diagnosed with a chronic illness, you need assistance with 2 or more of the activities of daily living. So you can't eat by yourself. You can't get dressed. You can't go to the bathroom. You lose your ability to control your bowels. You need help bathing. You need help just getting up from a chair. Guess what? You're able to get some money. And I have a client where he had set something up for his child, and he wanted to get a little something for himself. And, well, you know what? He was a contractor. And he's like, yeah, I guess I'll get something for myself. And what happened to him a couple years later, he fell off a roof and broke both of his wrists. Guess what you can't do if you break both of your wrists? Pretty much anything. You need help with anything and everything that you do. He was so happy that he invested that couple of dollars a month just so he could have that additional coverage. Mm-hmm. Now, terminal illness, you know what? If life happens to us, unfortunately, cancer is just such a prominent thing these days. Unfortunately, it runs in my family, but God willing, I won't have to worry about it. But if something does happen to us, and we're diagnosed with a terminal illness, we'll have access to up to 100% of that death benefit for us to do what we want. Now, that actually happened to a business partner's cousin. And he was young. He was in his late 20s or 30s. And he said, yeah, cuz whatever, I'll hear you out. And they put a plan in place for him. A couple years later, he just hadn't been feeling good. Went to the doctor, stage 4 stomach cancer, terminal. Said, you have less than 8 months to live. He was able to utilize that life insurance he had. He took that death benefit and was able to set up some plans for his kids, do some traveling, and create those memories before his family passed away. And that was so powerful for them to be able to do it. And if he hadn't set that up, what would have happened? What would have happened to him? And I see a question in there about what about getting life insurance on an adult family member who's irresponsible, living a risky lifestyle, or they're on drugs or just doing bad things? You know, sometimes sharing some of the stories, and thank you for that question. Sometimes sharing some of the stories of us being able to get someone qualified for coverage can help somebody look at things a little bit differently. They can think at things a little bit differently. Now, depending on what someone's doing, if they're currently still active in that risky lifestyle, that can have an implication on their ability to get coverage. Mm-hmm. But if they had a risky lifestyle and they've been able to turn themselves around, there are so many different companies out there. Guess what? There's options for them. So we just have to kind of sit down and talk on a case-by-case basis to see, hey, what is it someone's looking for? Because again, there's a lot of different types of coverage out there. What is someone looking for? And how current is their risky lifestyle? Like we have people that they like to hang glide because it's fun. People like to rock climb. I used to rock climb. And they say, hey, you know, you just need to fill out this extra questionnaire. We just need to know what you're doing so we can properly assess it. But I always say, hey, there's no such thing as too old, too sick, too expensive. If people are willing to take the time to look into their options, they can find that, hey, guess what? There probably is something out there that can be beneficial for them and their family. No, thank you for that question. And then, of course, it is life insurance. So if we pass away, death benefit, that goes to our family, and that's 100% with a remaining value, and that's tax-free. And then we also look at, if you were to put an additional right on there, hey, if you were to become disabled, you could get a couple $1,000s a month as income from that plan. So what that does is that helps protect your long-term goals, and it gives you the ability to keep persevering, to move forward, and make sure that, hey, our lifestyle, our plans for our future don't get thrown off.
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing I want to chat about is whole life, which is probably more common, but probably one of the most misunderstood plans that we can have. So whole life, like Cynthia mentioned earlier, it is permanent. It is a permanent plan, and you can actually accrue some cash value there. So that's pretty cool. You can earn about 2 to 4% with those. And some people used to use those as an investment vehicle just because you can get some cash value out of them. But then we have people start thinking, well, I want to do something a little bit different. So people said, hey, look, let's look at just final expense coverage. Final expense coverage will take care of that burial coverage, that the funeral expenses. Maybe cover the last minute medical things that weren't taken care of. That's usually lower amounts, $10,000 to $50,000. But that covers the basic final end of life, your last party, as I always like to put it, your last celebration, right? And that's a couple of dollars that's going to take care of that, so it's not a financial burden on the family. And that's something that's great. If people don't have anything and they are a little bit older, then, hey, that could be a great way to go. That could be an awesome way to put them in a good position and help them put their family in a position where it's not a financial burden when they pass away. They can at least give them that good goodbye and also send the proper paperwork and have, again, the conversation of, do I want to be buried? Do I want to be cremated? Do I want my remains to go to science? If we don't know, hey, it's really important that we put those wishes out there and make those known to our families. Another part of whole life is, hey, some people use them for college plans, and they'll utilize the protection and growth of insurance within insurance, where it allows your premiums to stay the same. You don't have to worry about them increasing down the road, but you can worry about, and I apologize, I messed up on the slide a little bit. You don't have to worry about the premiums increasing. Your death benefit will remain pretty much the same for the most part, and the cash value that's grown up in there, that's accrued in there, that can actually go through and give you the ability to help pay down some of that college debt or assist in paying for college. So that's one way that those can be used. Another thing we look at is guaranteed coverage. And I know we all see the ads pop up. They're on TV, they're online. You can't get away from, like, no medical exam needed, guaranteed coverage. We can do it. We can do that. You know what? Those are awesome. Because if I were to describe to everybody someone that had heart attacks, strokes, stents in their heart, cancer survivor, high blood pressure, or I described someone that has smoked longer than I've been alive, severe COPD, end-stage lung disease, on oxygen 24/7, and living at a board and care facility. Would we think that either of those two people could qualify for, much less afford, any type of insurance? Guess what? I just described my mom and my uncle, and they were both able to get coverage through one of these guaranteed programs. It's not the best thing for everybody by any means, but when you have people with conditions like that, guess what? That could be a great way to go if it's structured properly, if you look into making sure it's affordable long term. And the way those work, hey, if somebody were to pass away too soon from medical conditions, be knowledgeable of the fact that if somebody passes away in the first couple of years, you won't receive the full death benefit. You'll receive whatever premium contributions they've paid into that policy, plus about 10%. And absolutely, yes, thank you for that comment. Hey, final expense, some sort of basic guaranteed coverage, so much better than nothing. Because even if it's only $5,000, that's $5,000 less your family has to worry about that. So great point. And thank you so much for paying attention and participating. I love that. It makes it so much more fun. And then another really common type of whole life insurance is group insurance. People say, oh, I'm covered. My job's got me. Well, my job's got me. Let's all think back about, given it's June 2021. Let's think about what happened 12 months ago. How much did our jobs have us? How many of our jobs really had us, or did they furlough us or just completely let us go? And that group insurance is cool if we have coverage while we're working there, and it can be very inexpensive to have. Oftentimes the company covers all of it, and it's very, very inexpensive to increase it, $6, $10 a month. But think about it. If we're talking about a whole life permanent insurance plan, do people usually get sick and pass away when they're young, healthy, and active and working? Or when they're older, not so healthy and retired? It's cool to have that layer of coverage while you're working, but make sure you have something outside of just your job. Because if your job decides to get rid of you, or you find something better, you no longer have that coverage. And let me tell you, anybody that's looked into even that COBRA insurance, that after you've been let go from work, hey, it's almost more expensive than what they paid you. So think about the cost of continuing your life insurance once you're no longer part of that group plan. And the last thing I want to touch on here for everybody is kind of the newest style of coverage. And it's not even all that new. It's progressed to this, but it's one of the hybrid plans that's out there. And this is, it's an Index Universal Life, IUL. And what it does is it combines with what most people are doing with their money, and we can use it for a variety of different applications. So most people will put their money in the bank because it's safe and secure. They don't have to worry about what's going to happen to their money. They need it, they can go get it. Then 15% of people they'll invest directly in the market because they want to get those high rates of return. Little do people know that so many of their retirement plans are invested deeply into the market. And whatever the market does, that's what their retirement plan is going to do. And they want to get those high rates of return, but they don't realize the risk of loss. But with this Index Universal Life, we're also combining what that top 5% of people do, where they understand the advantages of investing into insurance and the tax advantages that they can have with that, and how it can benefit not just them while they're alive, but how it can help out their family as well. So when we utilize a plan like this, we get protection. We get protection on our health, on our life. We have access to money as an emergency fund. We don't have to worry about early withdrawal penalties. We don't have to worry about being forced to take our money out. We could even use this plan to structure an additional source for retirement income and not have to worry about as much about taxes down the road. How cool would that be? Think about if we started a savings program for our children when they're young, and we put them in a position where if maybe college isn't completely paid for, but we put them in a position where by the time they hit adulthood, they turn 18, they can start their own business. They can pay down some college debt. They can buy a new car. They can pay for a wedding. They can buy a house. How cool would it be to put our children in a position where they can buy a house when they're late 20s or early 30s? And meanwhile, set up a plan that's going to be good, not just for college, but for life, and ultimately be able to pass on a legacy to our family that's not even been born yet. How powerful can that be? And then, hey, if somebody qualifies for it, we can even get the living benefits within this as well. Guess what? We can go through and make sure that if somebody's diagnosed with a chronic, critical, or terminal illness, they're able to keep their plans in place. They can keep their future plans in force. They don't have to worry about pulling from a permanent plan for a temporary issue. They'll be in a good, positive financial state. So there's a lot of different options out there. There really, really are. And we just wanted to bring those to you in a brief fashion, but wanted to give you an idea of what's out there and how important it is to understand what it is that we actually have. Because if we don't know what we have, then how do we know where we're going? And one thing before we open up and chat again, hey, here's our information. If anybody would like to know more, please let us know. But think about this. Think about this. We are required to have insurance on everything in our lives. If we want to drive a car in the streets, we got to have insurance. We got to have insurance on our health. A lot of times we got to have renter's insurance on our apartments. We've got to have homeowners insurance. We have insurance on our cell phones. Shoot, I had a storage unit once that they made me get insurance on. But what does the government not require us to insure? They don't make us insure ourselves. We are the ones that pop out that $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 every month. If we're not able to go to work, if we're not around, we're not able to earn that income that us and our families, our loved ones depend on to live, to be successful in life, how are they going to make it? Cynthia, share the story about the GoFundMe. There's tons of GoFundMe stories out there. And the thing is, it's not necessary. That's the thing that we can avoid. And that's what hurts. That's what hurts, is knowing that this is something that could be avoided. I understand that life insurance can be a funky topic. It can be something people don't necessarily want to talk about. But if we do talk about it, we do have that conversation. Let's get on both sides of this life insurance conversation so that people can understand, hey, we can get the right thing in place for you at the right time. It doesn't have to cost you $1 million. You can do something to at least make sure you're protected and to make sure that your family's in a good position if you're not around or you're unable to provide for them as they've become accustomed to you doing so. So, thank you, everybody. That's what we wanted to share. And hey, let's have that time of conversation. Let's chat a little bit more and see what we can do to make sure we keep bringing that value back to our communities.
Phenomenal. Come on, community. We got to give them a round of applause. Short, quick, to the point, very impactful information. This is what I'm talking about. Educating the community intentionally, giving them the options, giving them information, making sure that they understand we have to protect ourselves. If anything else, like Sean said, this pandemic has taught us, people can die at any time, and we want to make sure that we're protecting them. We want to make sure that we leave generational wealth. Look at some of the historic things that's happened across this country. Just recently, a couple of days ago, we talked about Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Those people lost everything, and the insurance companies actually put things in their policies that they couldn't even recover. But when it comes to our bodies, and I think you hit something very important. Even if there are drug issues and different things, yes, there are some requirements that you have to get, for coverage. But like Sean them said, reach out to them, have a consultation, figure out what fits, what works for you. But for our young people, for the young people in the community, too many times tragedy happens to our young people in the community. Like you said, a young person getting hit by a car. We just had that incident like a few months ago in San Francisco where a young man was riding his bicycle, hit by a car and killed. It's happened a lot. The violence in some of our communities, innocent bystanders get shot. And it is a hard time when families lose people and you have to figure out how to do this. And a lot of times, this is where we lose our wealth gap at here in America. You might have a house, you might have things going on because you don't have the insurance. Something happened, and to pay for the funeral costs and a lot of that, it sometimes can set families back and push them out of that wealth gap. So I think it's very important. You hit on something else that I must say to the community out there. You have to get your own personal insurance. You heard what Sean said. Your employer gives you that coverage while you're working for that employer. But once you're no longer with that employer, those benefits go away. And we want to make sure that our community has their own protection. So no matter where you go, you have that protection. If the employer has it, great, you got double coverage. But you want to make sure that you have your own personal coverage. Insurance is the number one thing that we have to focus on in the Black and brown community. I'm going to continue to push this to the community. Insurance for life should be in your monthly budget, okay? We should not be paying $230 a month for cable bills and we don't have insurance. We should not be paying for 5 cell phones if we don't have insurance, okay? There are different policies. I tell everybody on this platform, I always encourage term insurance to the community that I serve. And the reason why is because you could get a phenomenal package for a reasonable price. Some of the whole life and the different policies, I don't really promote. Different communities, different situations, fit what works for you. But for our people in the community that I'm dealing with, majority of them, for $100 a month, $50 a month, you could get an amazing term policy, protect your young people, leave a little bit of wealth for them. I think is very, very important. We got to have this conversation. You're right. That's why we have both sides of the conversation. But this is something that is passionate to me. Too many times tragedy happens in our community. I am tired of watching on Instagram, Facebook, all these GoFundMe, help me bury the kid, help me bury grandma. It is a sad situation when you see it, it hurts. And all it is about planning. This financial literacy is very important. And we're doing our part here to help educate the community, like Sean said earlier, changing that narrative. That's what we're doing here at both sides of the conversation. Sometimes this information is not readily available for people in our community. We're trying to bring it to the community. You have two phenomenal guests tonight, Sean and Cynthia, coming on, blessing the community, giving you the sauce, giving you the game about the different policies, how you can protect yourself, how you can pass that generational wealth to your young people. Very important stuff. We only can give it to you. You have to apply it. Reach out to Cynthia, or Sean. Set up a consultant conversation. He said it's no charge. Reach out to him. Use it. We have to stop being so prideful in the Black and brown community. It's not time to be ashamed, right? We don't have time to be ashamed where we at. We have to start taking action. There's too many things happening in this country. We worried about what people think and how much money we have. We got to get past that. Go to the professionals, go to the people, sit down and have the conversation. Nobody's here to judge you, but we want to make sure that you get the right policy to help impact your family so that when that time comes, because we all got to go, and that's another thing in the Black community. Sometimes we think like, little kids. No, we never know. Okay. We can walk out the house and it's over. Okay. Make sure that you do the right thing, setting your legacy up for your family. I think this is very important information. I continue to push this information to our community. It is very, very important, people. Again, when you set up your budget, the first thing that I want to see all of our families do is make sure before we pay cable, before we pay for that third cell phone, before we go buy the Gucci, the Prada, the Birkin bags, we got life insurance so that our families can get some generational wealth and we're not out here asking for hands out from communities and with the sad face when we already going through the trauma and the pain of losing our loved ones. So thank you guys again for coming on. I think this was very phenomenal information. When you guys talk money and you talk about prepared, we always talk about proper preparation prevents poor performances, and this goes with life insurance. So thank you guys for coming on and giving this information to the people, because I think it is very, very, very important conversation that we will continue to have here moving forward, because we have to equip our community. Look what's going on across the world. Black and brown communities are being impacted in many ways. And these type of policies and plans that Cynthia and them are talking about is very important. Protect yourself. We lose a lot of our wealth because something tragic happened. Like Sean said, you break your leg. I know people who wasn't even thinking have a stroke or cancer, lose their homes and everything because they didn't have the right protections to protect their income. So please, people, reach out to Sean, reach out to Cynthia. They have a whole umbrella of things that they can get you connected with, and they're good people, because I know I work with them. I always give them the tough questions. Don't be selling my people none of that garbage. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to make sure that you get the right policy. But definitely for people who are in financial strains, and we are very understanding, we want to make sure that we get them on a 30-year term, get them some nice coverage so if something happened. But again, if you have the financial bandwidth to go with whole life, one of my big issues with whole life, Sean, and it's nothing to get it, I know people buy it. One of my issues is typically in our community, because we are financially strapped, like you said, especially in this pandemic, and shown the equity gap and the financial makeup of some of our families, a lot of single families. And, this stuff can really impact us. And a lot of people are trying to do the right thing to protect themselves. But what happens with the whole life policies is over time, those premiums, start to increase. And a lot of times our people will elapse the policy because the premium is too high. And that's one of my issues with it. And I appreciate you because you was real. You was upfront about coming to sit down and talk about what works for that individual. But too many times I go to these insurance people, I call them poverty pimps. They come in there and they sell people this ideal of, hey, if you get this whole life policy, you can take money out to buy a house and go to college. Yeah, you can't do it at a certain point. And they're not being always up and straight forward with the clients about that impact. And then what happens is a couple of years, they get into this policy, the premium goes up. It goes from 150 to 200 to 300, sometimes 400 a month. And people just like, I'm not paying $400-500 for this, and they let the policy go, which is a bad idea. But sometimes we have to really
Lost
look at,
everything.
and I think that's why it's important what you and Cynthia are talking about.
Mhm.
Every person is different. This is not a time to be embarrassed. You come to them, you sit down, look at your financial portfolio, and let them put you in the right policy that's going to impact your family, low impact to you, but you still get the protection and coverages you need. And I'm going to continue to fight for that. I think this is something that we really have to keep highlighting. So I really appreciate you all coming tonight, because this is a difficult conversation. And in the Black and brown community, especially when we talk about financial stuff, it's almost talking about mental health or any other taboo stigma conversation in our community. And we have to change that narrative. We have to make finances cool. We have to make mental health cool, because these are the things that are holding our communities back. And it starts with a plan. It starts with an action. It starts with protection. It starts with life insurance. And we'll get you guys there and connect you with the people in the community. But I see a couple of questions up. Let me see. Selena, let's see here. I'm gonna go through. We'll put up a couple of people saying good information, learn something you tonight about IDLs. So again, the impact is real. People are paying attention. Sean, your presentation, Cynthia, is getting over. People are thinking about stuff. And that's the whole ideal here.
That's what
We're
we
not
want.
trying to change people's minds. We're just trying to give you other opportunities and information to help you process, wake that level of consciousness and understanding up. And it sounds like you all hit it tonight, because people are asking questions and they thinking about it. I didn't know about this. So that's a good job right there. If you get nothing else, you got that. That's 100%. You shoot 100% right now. And then let's see, Selena.
It
Yes.
doesn't always have to be something that's complicated. We just have to understand what it is. And I love what you said about, hey, getting that term coverage, because it doesn't have to be expensive. You said, hey, $100 a month, $50 a month. You know what? I was able to hook one of my friends up with well over a couple $100,000 worth of coverage for less than $20 a month, because I knew that they were in a position where financially they couldn't afford a whole lot more. But God forbid something funky happened to them in the next few years, it's not going to be a financial burden to them if they get sick or injured. It's not going to be that financial burden to their family. And guess what? We're also able to put them in a position where, hey, if you want to convert this to something permanent, you can. Shoot, $100 a month when somebody's young, you can actually get a whole life policy. You can get something that's permanent, be it a whole life, be it an IUL, where that monthly premium that you set that policy up with, that's why you got to have the right conversation with whoever supposedly hooks you up with your plan. You want to make sure that that person actually tells you what you have, so that you know, hey, is my premium going to be the same, or is it going to increase? Is it going to be like one of those balloon payments on a house? So you can set yourself up with $100 or $200 for a month for a permanent plan, if you do it when you're young enough. Now, can you do that when you're old? You can get your final expense for $100 or so a month, or less. But it's different for each person, for each age. And like that question that came out, I love that. Hey, if you've got some different circumstances going on, hey, that's definitely a deeper conversation, but it's still something that can be achieved. But if nothing else, because of that time when we're young, that's the time that we don't plan on anything happening to us, right? That's the time that it's the most devastating if something does happen to us. That's the time that if something happens to our kids, we're in the worst mental state. We're in the worst financial state because something happened to my child. How do you process that? And then you got to fork out all this money. You're in your 20s, you're young, you're in your prime, you're living life, you're enjoying it. You didn't plan on tripping and falling. You didn't plan on getting hit by the Prius because you didn't hear the thing coming, right? Or the Tesla because you didn't hear the Tesla truck coming along, right? That's the stuff that throws us off track. And no matter how well we planned, if we didn't have the proper planning in place to take care of that unexpected emergency, we can be out. And when you talk about being young and less than $50 a month, in place that would take care of you and your family, I think almost anybody with a job, almost anybody, not everybody, almost anybody with a job, there's $50 a month we waste.
Man, definitely. I agree. I all I can say is I agree with you. I do a lot of this financial stuff. I look at people's bills and they got $200-300 in gym memberships that they ain't went to in years. So I know the money is there. But we got to do a better job of our finances. We got to make it cool. I want to give a shout out to my guy Silent Tunes on there. Great brother, bringing his young brother up. Just happy to see him on tonight because I know he cares about his family and his kids. This is great information. He's one of our people that's helping us change this narrative and catching the highlights and the stories. One of the baddest videographer and photographers in the city. So just happy to have him part of both sides of the conversation. But I seen him tuning in. Want to say hello to Miss Sandy out there. She's watching.
Me
To
too.
a lot of our people out here. This is great information. I hope you guys are getting inspired out there. I hope you're getting motivated because there is some opportunities. And with all of this PPE money and this EDD money and all these different things, make sure you take some money out to do the right thing. Set up a future for your family, to leave a legacy, and make sure that your family is well equipped because it's very, very important. And again, just happy that you all were here to give this information to the community. You guys made it so easy and understanding, and that's what I like. I don't like these people that come in here and try to trick people up with all of these big words and try to, you guys made it simple, and that's what it's about. Just get it to the people, get the information. Please reach out to Cindy and Sean as well if you have any financial literacy issues that you want to address, or if you're trying to work on a budget, get out of debt. Please reach out to them. They are very good, very personal. You don't have to worry about people judging you. Sit down, have a conversation, get the information that they need. Get your finances in order. That's our push here in Black and Brown America today, okay? We're going to fix this financial issue. We're going to fix this wealth gap, and it starts by setting up a budget, paying off debt, setting our children up. Today, we represent the class of 2021. How many of you out there have a 529 account set up for your kids for college? We can't wait for scholarships. We can't wait for our athletes to do the thing. As adults in the community, as mothers and fathers and grandmothers, we need to set our young people up with the right college funding that they need. And it starts young. You have an opportunity. Reach out to these two magnificent people here that are all about changing the dynamic and the paradigm of our financial situations in our community. With that being said,
Can I say just one more thing?
go ahead.
Thank you, John. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. I just wanted to do also a shout out to Sandy because Sandy was out with me on Carnival as well. And it was just great and amazing. And again, I just want to give a shout out to my kids, but especially my son, Julian, who graduated, because it took a while for him to be open about what I do because why? Because we work for the community and we are, the community in a sense. And I know that his mindset was like, well, Mom, money, it doesn't matter. He had these conversations I used to have with my dad. And to get him to the place that he is today, to say, yeah, Mom, I'm going to sit down with you and, your other mentors and figure it out for myself because I am 18 and I can get something. And I said, yeah, because retirement is the number that we get stuck on, that it has to be 65. But if you start out young enough and you, like Sean says, it's you properly fund what you want, you will get to where you want to go. And so, with my son, I'm so proud of him, and I'm just going to do a good shout out for him. Class of 2021, Lowell, and I'm just so proud. So that's what I wanted to finish off with. Of course, I love Sarai and Stephanie too, and my grandbabies, and of course my mama, who's my biggest fan of all.
Yeah, phenomenal. And tell that young man I'm proud
of you,
of him.
John, who has my daddy's name, so it's all a blessing right now.
Well, tell your son I'm proud of him. I met him, a very humble young man. You did your due diligence because I could tell when I met the young man, he's very humble, very understanding. Just proud of him and his endeavors that he's going to go and make you a proud mom and a proud family. And that's what it's about. Start young, teaching this information to our kids in school to make sure that they're equipped with the tools and ready so that they don't make the long life mistakes. Like Sean said, if we get this in our community early, we get our young people who graduate out of high school thinking about retirement, thinking about investment, thinking about life insurance, thinking about financial literacy. They won't make the mistakes of taking out all of the loans, putting themselves in debt, buying cars that they don't or can't afford with loans and interest rates and things of that nature. So, just proud to have you you guys here. I know you all will be back because you have a wealth of financial information, and hope we can get you guys to come back and talk about retirement as well. I think that is a big conversation that needs to happen in our community as well. Too many times, too often, our elders of the community are approaching retirement age and they don't have the financial means. And I'm tired of seeing our elders of the community having to go back and work at Walmart and doing things to make ends meet. So if we properly educate them about retirement and making sure that they're putting their percentages in, 15% of your gross income should be going into your retirement, your 401k, your Roth, whatever you're investing in, on top of whatever your company is matching with you. I think that's something that needs to be taught. And hopefully we're going to get some more people to talk about that with the retirement. Too many times I run into people and they say, hey, they told me they was taking 8% out of my check. My job had this, blah, 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 blah. I didn't know. I thought that was it. I didn't know I had to add to it. So again, just educating the community. I always let the community know it is not HR job to let you know these type of things because they're not in the business of doing that. They're in the business of protecting the organizations and the companies that they work for. So a lot of times our HRs don't do the proper job of educating people. And again, they're not in a position to tell people how to move their money. But you have Sean. You have Sean. You have Cynthia. Both sides of the conversation are bringing the community resources to the community, changing the narrative, believe in us because we believe in you. We know this change can happen. It starts one person at a time. It takes one show at a time. It takes one Sean and Cynthia at a time to help impact our community. And we will get there and we will do it. It's a task. It's not going to be easy. But I think walking with Sean and Cynthia, we'll get to the finish line. And Miss Sandy out there, we will make sure that our community is equipped and prepared so that they can be financially well off and they're not dependent on any type of help. And that's where we want to go so that we can have a better life and less stress, because Sean hit it. When we have money problems, it creates a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. A lot of our issues in our community when it comes to mental health is related to money. And a lot of people don't want to highlight it. They always want to just shoot it to the drugs and the other things. But a big percentage of it is behind finances and jobs. And, having Sean them here is a way to start preparing yourself so that you could be equipped to manage through the next storm, because we will have a storm. This market will crash. Things will reset at some point. It's not going to be a high road forever. So you want to prepare yourself now, get ready, make the smart decisions of having a life insurance and investing properly. So looking forward to having you all back on here again, because I know we're going to see each other again, because here are both sides of the conversation. We are going to keep intentionally pounding this life insurance, financial literacy information to the community until they get it. And I don't care how many times we have to do it, but we're going to do it because we're going to fix our community. I believe we can do it. It takes a little bit of time, a little understanding. When we have phenomenal people like you come on, it just makes it easier with the transparent communication to our community at the meeting them where they at. So I think that's great. But Sean, Cynthia, anything you guys want to say before we close out tonight's segment? Thank you all for coming. It was a blessing. If there's anything you all want to tell the community or say, shout outs, this is the time to do it.
No, thank you so much.
Cynthia, ladies first.
No, I'm just saying thank you. I really appreciate it. I shared what I shared and it was just great. And I just appreciate this platform. I appreciate both sides.
You are definitely a pillar of our community. Thank you for the things that you do to make sure that our Black and brown communities are connected. You are a trooper in the streets, a real trailblazer right here. It's an honor to have you on here again. You, Sandy, and Brenda, just being around people who really love the people. It's always a blessing and honor to have you here. Brother Sean, you want to say anything to the people before we close out?
Hey, thank you again for having us back. Ever since I was on last time, every time I talk to somebody, I tell them how important it is to start everything with a conversation. That's what it's about, of having that conversation. Mm-hmm. And everybody, I don't care if y'all reach out to us, y'all reach out to somebody else, just have a conversation and ask those questions. Make sure you know what you've got. Don't be misled. Saving $50 a month for your 11-year-old is not a college plan. That's a savings plan, but that's not going to pay for college. Don't be misled by thinking you're 40 years old and you can save $150 a month and that's going to turn into retirement for you. That's called a savings plan. It might save you some money, but it's not going to allow you to retire. So ask the questions. Make sure you understand what you have, how it's going to work, and think, is it going to help you reach your goals? And reevaluate what you have, because what you set up 5 years ago, heck, 2 years ago, a year ago, could be different than the position you're in now. So reevaluate what your plans are, reevaluate what you have, because we upgrade our cell phones every 1.5 to 2 years. Why not upgrade everything else? Why not look into our financial plan every year or 2 years and make sure we stay on that right track to reach our goals? So,
another. No, sorry for cutting you off. Another question came in at the end. Miss Chanel Snowden. She said, "Can you get burial insurance on your grandmother?"
Absolutely. My mom, but she's she's not 80 yet, but she's not 60 or 70 either. Okay, let me say that because I didn't actually tell her age. But yes, our grandparents can still get coverage. They can still get burial insurance. I can't. It's not like you can get it up until any age. There are limits within that, but there are definitely plans that we can get out there to set our parents up, our grandparents up. That's actually what my uncle utilized. While he was in the board and care facility, we were able to connect him with the plan and program that was affordable for him, that allowed my family now. Unfortunately, he's passed away, but I have seen the family be the recipient of a death benefit check because of knowledge, because of a conversation. And when I tell you that was a blessing and took care of some incidentals that we weren't expecting, allowed us to fly some family in from out of town that otherwise wouldn't have been able to fly in. And it wasn't hundreds of thousands of dollars. He got it when he was in his 60s or 70s or something. But it was enough to take care of things. So it took some of that pressure off of us. And we're able to connect and mourn and process and handle what we need to as a family. So, yeah, don't ever think that it's too old, you're too late, you're too sick. It's too risky to have that conversation.
Well, thank you for the question, Chanel. There goes Sean's information. Cynthia information is run at the bottom of the screen. Reach out to them. These conversations, these questions, they are available. They are willing to have the conversation. For anybody watching on our YouTube, please reach out to Sean. Please reach out to Cynthia. Cynthia number is running on the bottom of the screen. Sean information is right there. Please reach out to them. Have that conversation. They said they'll have the time for community. So please reach out to them and make sure that you get heard, get the information so that you can protect your family, your grandmother, your young kids, whoever that you need to protect. We want to make sure that our families are protected. So when that time comes, we're not stressing. We're not worrying about losing further with the financials and things of that nature. So, well, with that being said, I guess that's it. Thank you all for coming on tonight. Very powerful segment. This is what Educational Thursday is all about. If you or somebody out in the community feel that you have a PowerPoint presentation that you would like to come on here to educate our community on something, whatever topic, please reach out to us at bothsidesoftheconversation.org, or you could go to www.bothsidesofthebsotc.org, and you could go ahead and sign up for one of our Educational Thursdays. I'll put our website up there on the screen now. You could go to our website, book an Educational Thursday. If you have some phenomenal information that you think, hey, my people need to know about this. This is great information. They don't teach our people this. Please go to our website, click on our Educational Thursday, set up a time where you could come on here and give some sauce and some great information like Sean and Cynthia tonight to our community. Phenomenal information. With that being said, this Sunday, because today is Thursday, this Sunday, we're going to have a powerful conversation. I hope everybody's going to be able to join us. We are going to be on this Sunday with the San Francisco Black-led Organization Coalition. We are talking about community violence. What can we do to stop it? What can we do to fix it? Cynthia talked about her friend losing her child to gun violence. This violence thing in America is bad, especially here in the Bay Area right now. I was reading an article today. Homicides, violence in the community, gun violence is up 150% in Oakland. San Francisco have a high rise of shootings. We need to have a real community conversation. How are we going to help the young people? How are we going to help the people that need mental health? How are we going to get this anger, fear, and pain that we are dealing with in our community? How are we going to get the resources to community to help impact the community? And like I said at the beginning of the show, This month is Men's Mental Health Month. So I'm hoping all of the men in the community come on to have this conversation about violence in our community. Very important conversation to have. So looking forward to the SF Block led organizations coming on this Sunday to have that conversation. And then next Tuesday, we'll have another Hidden Gem segment. We're going to have some guests come on, talk about the things that they're doing. But if you want to be one of those guests, if you have a business out there, you want to highlight your business, promote your business for free, you want to come on both sides of the conversation to promote your business, please go to our website. This Tuesday, we still have a few spots open. If you have a small business, we don't care how big your business is. If you have one employee or no employee, or you have 500, if you want to come on our platform, promote your business, please go to our website, log on this Tuesday as we highlight some more hidden gems in our community to let community know where our Black and brown businesses are, where our community leaders are, so that we can connect those resources with community. And then next Thursday, the same time, same place, right here like today, we're going to have Miss Michelle come on, and we're going to be educating the community about Juneteenth. What does that mean? Really educating our community. I was very hurt when I was working with some of our young people that they didn't know about the Greenwood, Black Wall Street. There's a lot of historic things that our community are not knowing about. A lot of times we just assume community know what these celebrations, what these events mean. But man, I've been finding out more and more. A lot of people really don't know the essence of Juneteenth. They didn't understand Black Wall Street, what it was really about. That is a shame on our community, and I want to be a part of helping change that narrative, making sure that we educate, empower our community with the history and the future, because I don't want us to get too stuck on the future of history. I want us to move forward, but I also want to make sure that people really understand so that we're not showing up to Juneteenth events, dancing, partying, and eating, and really don't understand the significant values of what that means, how it impacts our culture, our generational wealth, the things that take place in this country. We want to make sure that our young people are equipped with that information as well. The more information that we have, the powerful we are as a community to move together, because these type of hidden secrets, hidden stories, a lot of times are hidden for a reason, because they don't want people to know about what happened, especially right now with all the talks of reparations going around in the air. Some of these people really start finding out some of the things that happened to them right here in San Francisco, right here in the Bay Area. You start finding out some of the real history. And on top of these talks of reparations, people get fired up because they didn't know it. So we're going to do our best here to continue to educate the community intentionally. That's our job when we're changing this narrative, making sure that our community is blessed with the information. So we're going to continue to do that as well. So with that being said, we're going to end tonight. Again, shout out to the class of 2021. So proud of you young people and all the graduates of 2021. I'll be out there tomorrow with our Black graduates at Kezar. Looking forward to seeing all of the family, the kids. It's going to be fun, a lot of love. Just going to be, a great time for me just to see all these little young Black bodies, walking in their journey, the next things that they're going to be doing to help impact our community. So with that being said, love you all. We go away in peace and love, and we'll see you all this Sunday to have an important conversation about community violence. We'll see you all Sunday.